Alright, so how do you put that where you have this? Okay, well, basically you're going to have to reconfigure these front rails. These Jaguars, they go in nice on straight rails. So you want straight rectangular rails, preferably, if you really get lucky, like 33 inches wide. I think I'm going to end up around 34, so I may have to make a little bit of a notch here in the back where the rails come through. From the factory, these Jaguars were bolted into the cars. The Jags were a subframe type car, so they had big bolts that held these in here and had mounts, rubber mounts in the back. I am not going to, that's called soft mounting. I am not going to soft mount this. I am going to weld this in hard to the frame, make it part of the frame. So all these are front outriggers. They're going to get cut away. I'm not going to need them. The other thing, part of the soft mounting, this is called a Z-joint. It's a double flexible steering joint, and this was used because of the soft mount. You had to be able to have the front suspension move independent of the steering column, so as the suspension moved on the rubber, you didn't feel it through the column because of the Z-joint. That's going to go away, and just going to put a regular 48 spline 3/4 joint there to tie into the steering column up there. That's already cut. So what's the plan? Well, this is the plan. To give an overview, what this rail is going to do here, you can see how the rail curves up, and then we deal with all this mess and comes back over here. What I'm going to end up doing is, as this rail curves up, I'm going to end up going straight until we hit this point right here. I'm going to get rid of this hump on the bottom and basically make a straight rail across the bottom. The reason for that is to get the car at the right height I want the frame rail up as high as I need to get it there. And the thing with the Jag suspension is, I know from using them in the past, the bottom of the frame rail is going to be where the center of the wheel is. Once the suspension is compressed, you've got all the weight on it and it's at right height. So mocking this up, what I can do is lower the car down, stick a wheel in this wheelhouse, and look and see where the center of the wheel is and where the car is. If the car is at the height I want and the center of the wheel lines up with the bottom of the frame rail, I'm golden. If I lower this down to where I want the car and the center of the wheel is up here somewhere, well, that tells me I have to build a stepped frame rail. The bottom of the rail is going to need to move up a couple inches. I had to do that on another one of my Buicks. That'll be videos for another time. But to show that, for those who haven't used these Jags, that's what I'll do. I'll stick a wheel under here and show you where the center of that wheel lines up. Alright, so I just grabbed a 15.7 Corvette Rally wheel, and this is a 205, 215? 215 70/15 tire. This is about what I plan on running on the front as far as the tire. And that's about what I want. If I can get the light on here. Let's see. The tire just below the fender lip there. That'll leave plenty of room for steering, no issues, anything like that. And looking through my tire hole here, let's see if this works. The frame rail is about in the center of that tire. And that's where I'm going to be. In fact, the frame rail is actually going to be a little higher than that because that's that lower bump. So the car will probably be another inch lower than that. That's going to put my rocker panel about 7 inches off the ground. And that's usually my number. I go for around 7. That's, you know, safe for speed bumps. Not gonna worry about hitting any road hazards and things like that. And the other deal with this car is, you can see how low that'll be. The frame is actually a little bit below the rocker. Is going to be the LS oil pan. That's a bit down the line here, but you think about these things already for doing the build. I'm going to try to get away with using the truck oil pan and raise the engine up higher, because I know that there's a lot of height in this engine compartment, and raising the engine up, while they'll say that's not the best thing for handling and this and that, whatever, raising an inch or two is not going to make a difference on this car. And it actually may help as far as adding clearance for the plumbing and the for the exhaust and that with the turbo and steering and clearances and such. So we'll see what it all looks like when I set the engine in to mock it up. But overall, I'm not trying to put this thing in the weeds. I don't want to be able to, or I want to be able to drive the car and not be scanning the road constantly if I'm going to rip the bottom of the car off for a manhole cover or something like that. So low is cool, but I have my limits as far as drivability. So I think this is going to work out real nice. Anyway, that's enough yapping. So this thing's going back up in the air, and time to start getting this work done on this frame here. Alright, time to get started on this frame modification here. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to cut the crossmember out first, and then straighten the inside of the rail, and then go to the outside. So I'm just going to sawzall this thing out of here. Pretty big first. I'll just cut some big chunks out of here, and then see what we're going to do next with the rails. Alrighty, time to cut this crossmember out. Made a couple starting cuts just to see where I'm going to go, but basically just going to cut. I'm going to save this section here, cut some big chunks out, get going like that, and see where we're at. Coming out. Yep, she's done. There she goes. Okay. All right. There's crossmember. It's out. Okay, so here we go. And didn't have to worry really about anything moving because the frame rail is still intact. It's just cut the intersection out. Nothing's going anywhere. So next, all of this has to come out. This inner structure here with the rivets. There's rivets holding it in. Get the rivets ground off and get this out of here. Then the plan is to take this section here, which is curved out into the inside, toward the inside of the car, cut the welds at the top, heat this up here, and knock this in, and actually turn this into a fully boxed frame, and then I'll extend on out. So I'm going to get to work on that, and I'll video after we get moving along some. All right, so we got the next thing to do here, remove this inner section of the frame here. Not going to need that. So I've got these rivets along the top. It's going to blow those off with the plasma. You can hit them with a grinder, cut-off wheel, anything, whatever, and then just knock them out. And there's some on the bottom as well. holding this in, and then I'll get this section out. So hang on a sec, I'll get that done. Alright, so here's where we are so far. The piece that was in here is gone. There was a weld here on the top of the rail. This is hard to see because I'm at the level of it, but the frame rail here splits off, comes into the inside. What I'm going to do is heat this up here and then knock this frame rail in so that it's going to go straight. You can see from here how it's curving away from the frame rail. I'm going to bring this together so that in the end it's going to be pretty much a straight frame from this section straight along here and then tied into this, because this is fine. This can get filled in and this can work as the frame rail, no problem. This section here, this has to get brought in. So that's the next thing we're doing. So I'm just going to heat it up here and knock this in. Alrighty, we are getting a straight rail. In. Alright, just a quick update. Almost done with this passenger side rail. So I've got C-channel welded in, straightened out the rail, and then on the outside cut out the rest of the factory frame, and now just have to weld in a piece here, and then we'll have a fully boxed square tube rail. And then come over and do the same thing to this side. So we have the before and the after, and once it's all painted up it'll look nice. That's it for now. Alright, one side done. So this rail is finished. Again, this is what we did have. To get all this done, and it'll look like this when it's all finished up. Good to go. That's the inside and the outside. So now it's a regular boxed square tube rail, which will work perfect for the Jag. Get the other side done, come back after that.